Greetings and welcome to a rare live stream on a Taco Tuesday. And again, Tuesday, perhaps it is Wednesday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Not all of us were blessed to say that, and unfortunately, not all of us will be able to say that in the morning. So always give thanks and things. And tonight we are going to be discussing forensic failures. Now, this happened in Maryland, but it's important because it could be happening in your state. So, if we're ready, let's go. Now, before I continue, let me put up the Fair Use Act disclaimer. And viewer discretion. So again, we're going to be discussing forensic promulgated in a shocking audit in the state of Maryland, where, and I'm going to let you know right now, a lot of what I am going to say is going to be ad-libbed for obvious reasons. According to an audit, and this can be the Maryland Attorney General's website. I'm actually going to document, and of course, I am not going through 70 pages tonight, but I am going to go through some of this. Again, this is concerning 36 police custody unalivings that should have been ruled as, I'll just say, homicides. According to this audit, were misclassified as to accidents, natural causes, or undetermined. And at that time, Chief Medical Examiner was the head of the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner from 2003 to 2019. What made him come under fire is the testimony he provided in the case that rocked the world. And to refer to this, but this is what sparked this audit. The George Floyd case. And many people who watched that footage, and today I still have not been able to bring myself to watch that footage. I accidentally passed the TV, and I'm not even going to repeat what I heard. It bothered me so much, but it's actually watching it, I could not do it, and I don't think that I ever will. I've read enough, but to actually watch that, I cannot. But that is Derek Chauvin or Chauvin. David Fowler, again pictured here, is the one who testified in this case, and his claims were it was impossible for him to rule the passing of George Floyd. Again, George Floyd to the left, depending upon how you're viewing this, and Derek Chauvin on the right, according to David Fowler, that George Floyd was unalived by the knee of Derek Chauvin or Chauvin being pressed against his neck for 9 minutes. That it had to be drug use or a heart condition. That prompted a study that turned into a year's work of audits and reviews into cases. And of the 88, 36, again, 36 of these police custody or police restrained unalivings, according to this audit, should have been ruled as homicides. Now, right here is Maryland Governor Wes Moore, and at his side is Lieutenant Attorney General Anthony Brown, who has this audit ordered a probe, a deeper look into many of these cases that Fowler oversaw. Now, be cautioned that just because they're going to look at this doesn't mean many of these are going to be changed, but at least this is a step into looking further into these cases. I'm going to show you an article. Again, this is fair use. And thank you to those that may come in and those who may catch the replay. Again, this is very important. At least I believe that it is. Hopefully you all to see the screen. This was released on July the 21st. And this is from the Baltimore Bay. Again, those of you that are interested, you can read a lot of this on your own leisure. This spring, an independent audit reached a stunning conclusion. Dozens of things. Let me come back down again. Hi, Anita. Hopefully you all were able to see that. Hey there, Anita. Hey there, Sister Joy. Let's see if I can get Joy up on the screen. There you go. How are you doing today? Good to see you all. Hopefully that will share okay. Again, thank you all. Now again, this is David Fowler, who is the reason why this audit again, David Fowler is who accused of, and because of his testimony, it's the reason why this audit is being done. This is what prompted all of this. I'll get back to StreamYard. Maybe. And we're back. And I'm going to share the screen again. This right audit again. This can be found and it just tells you or shows you rather. It's a letter from the governor, the attorney general, the executive summary. Again, this is 70 pages and nobody's going through all of that, but I wanted to go to the first page where I first started speaking. And hopefully everyone is able to see this and hear me clearly. Okay. And thank you to those that have joined and will catch the replay. In 36 of these cases, all three, again, all three independent forensic pathologists unanimously concluded that the unalivings were homicides, were the OCME, and that is an acronym for the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, which is in Baltimore, Maryland, had classified them as undetermined, accidental, or natural. This means, and this is according to the audit, which can be found again on the website of the Maryland Attorney General, that in nearly half of all reviewed cases, their expert reviewers disagreed. Again, this is very important. This means that in nearly half of all reviewed cases, their expert reviewers disagreed with the original classifications. This audit was, as I mentioned earlier, initiated in response to serious concerns raised when the former chief medical examiner, whose photo I presented earlier, Dr. David Fowler, who testified in 2021 that the unaliving of George Floyd wasn't a homicide, but rather due to, hey there, how are you? Good to see you, Hassan. George Floyd's unaliving wasn't a homicide, but rather due to undetermined causes. This testimony, as I mentioned earlier, prompted more than 450 medical experts to question similar loss of life determinations made in Maryland under the guise and the tutelage of Dr. Fowler's leadership. Now, for those of you that caught my live yesterday in Baltimore, Baltimore was the epicenter of a mass overdose of 27 people, 5 critical. Now, there were no reports of any loss of life. However, it came from, according to reports, this odd package of street pharmaceuticals called New Jack City. I went there and I was among those addicted. And for those of you who caught that video, there was an addicted person who walked up to me as I sat and wanted to sell his knockoff Gucci bag and another. And again, that's on my live video, but there are a lot of people on this internet who like to talk tough and always wants to box and challenge people to fights. And I hear this from men and women. And again, if that's the type of entertainment you like, then it's whatever. But I'm actually out here in the trenches. And the type of work that I do, unless I'm around a certain group, I have to be able to blend in. I was so close to that man who walked up on me, I could actually smell these street pharmaceuticals on his breath. He could have opened up that bag and pulled out something and took me out. Of course, I always have the hedge of protection around me, but I was among those addicted. I walked past them. I walked near an alley. You could hear a woman actually that she was trying to get her money. You could see several different races there that were so out of their minds because they were so high off of whatever it is they were taking. It was unbelievable. So I'm showing not what the news decides they want to show. I was sitting out there among people and watching the hold on, Hassan. I thought you were, hold on. There you go. That must have changed over when I changed over. But I'm out there actually in the streets doing work, showing real life, not talking behind a keyboard. Again, people do certain things, say certain things to entertain, but I'm actually showing you what addiction looks like. I'm showing you what poverty looks like. And again, this right here is a staunch example of some of the things that are going on right here in these United States. So let's go down a little bit further. Again, this is a 70-page document, and I'm not going over 70 pages. And of course, they're going to sit here and give their little thoughts. I'm going to get to the meat and potato. Hey there, twin. How are you? Good to see you. Those of you that are coming in, please, if you would be so kind, can you hit the like button? And I thank you. Again, hello there, twin. Hello there, Anita, Hassan, Sister Joy, and anyone else that may come in or catch the replay. I'm going over this scathing new audit that was released that says that out of, and this is just a ballpark figure, 80 cases, and that's a lot, 36 police custody unalivings should have indeed been ruled as homicides, but they were not. That says a lot about what has happened to so many young people. If you look at the paragraph on your screen, I'm going to go down to 15. In one of those papers, they described 45, I'll just say, loss of life in police custody that the OCME, again, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, investigated from, again, pay attention to this, 1990 to 2004, 24 of which were attributed to excited or agitated delirium, meaning they were delirious, with only 6 cases deemed to be homicides. Despite its widespread use among medical examiners, excited delirium has never, and let me repeat that, excited delirium has never been accepted in the broader medical community. Makes you wonder. In the years since Dr. Southall and her colleagues published their articles about it, the use of excited delirium as a cause of loss of life has been extensively criticized. In June 2021, the American Medical Association Council on Science and Public Health concluded that current scientific evidence does not, and I repeat, does not support the use of excited delirium as a valid medical diagnosis, and that the term, this is page 17, we're going to go down to 18, hopefully won't go too far. Again, you all can read this at your leisure for those of you that are interested. This is the part that I want right here. Disproportionately applied to, again, pay attention to this part. Disproportionately applied to people of color as a rationale for the inappropriate use of, number one, chemical restraint. Again, chemical restraint, including the anesthetic ketamine. In out-of-hospital settings, and particularly during encounters with police, a 2020 position statement by the American Psychiatric Association also rejected excited delirium, citing a lack of valid scientific evidence and the association of the term with the loss of life of Black men in police custody. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute so you all can pay attention to that very important piece of text. I had given you one before. I don't know what happened to it, Hassan. So that speaks volumes. I'm going to scroll down a little more. And this just gives a background on the characteristics of the case reviewers. 7 women, 5 men, average age 48, self-identified as white only 25%, self-identified as multiracial, and the remaining 3 self-identified as Hispanic, Black / African American, and African 8.3% each. So that's just a little background on the demographics. And this is just a brief on the orientation sessions. And here's a chart. This is table number 2. Number of cases in which case reviewers revised their initial opinions. Cause of loss of life, 74. None changed their opinion. 8 and 3. The manner of loss of life, 77 for 1, 7, for none, 7 for 1, and 1 for 2. Of the 8 cases, for at least one case reviewer revised their initial manner of loss of life opinion, there were 3 in which one case reviewer changed from undetermined to homicide after reviewing the autopsy photos. And in each of those cases, both other case reviewers also opined homicide before viewing the autopsy photos. Again, before reviewing the autopsy photos, they just assumed and said that this was homicide. Again, this is a very interesting audit here. Hey there, Ninja Drew, how are you? So we're going to go down a little further. This is more technical. Cases judged as homicides by case reviewers, but not by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner by county and jurisdiction. Anne Arundel, 7. Baltimore City, 22. Baltimore County, 8. Carroll County, 1. Cecil County, 1. Frederick, 4. Hartford, 2. Montgomery, 14. Very surprising. Thank you, Ninja. Prince George's, 14. Talbot, 5. Washington, 3. Wycomico, 4. And Worcester, 2. 87 cases were reviewed as a result of this audit, and 36, according to the audit, should have been ruled as homicides. That's a lot. Second paragraph. Another goal of this audit was to assess whether the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's manner of determinations show patterns consistent with the possibility of what, ladies and gentlemen? Racial bias. As shown in Table 5 below, there was a statistically significant difference in the overall pattern of the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's manner determinations for white versus non-white decedents in the 87 audit cases. So again, there were 87 cases that were audited. 87. Such that the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner less often certified the loss of life of non-white individuals as homicides and more often certified them as accidents or undetermined. Note, If one were to exclude two Hispanic decedents from the analysis so as to only compare white versus black decedents, this difference remains statistically significant. Thank you, Joy. Love you, sister. And shout out to Team Joy. Shout out to all of you. So this is table 5 here. Again, we're looking at the audit that can be found at the Maryland Attorney General website, where there was an audit preempted by the testimony of former Chief Medical Examiner David Fowler as a result of his testimony in the George Floyd case, where he stated on the stand that it was impossible for him to deem that as an homicide, despite what most of the world witnessed. And congratulations to the gifted members. I like to do that every now and again. So congratulations to Fresh Boy 80 TV, Rob Silla, Jacob and Abby's Family Channel, Eve's Kitchen, and Roll Rich II. Congratulations. You all keep your notification bells on, because you never know when I may do another appreciation day. So next, we're going to go down a little bit. Generally, case reviewers judged the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's cause of loss of life determinations as reasonable. More often, hey there, Eileen, how are you? And happy Tuesday. As reasonable. There were 69 cases for which at least 2 case reviewers judged the Office of the Chief Medical Examination cause determination as reasonable, but only 49 cases for which at least 2 case reviewers judged the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's manner of determination as reasonable. Conversely, there are 14 cases for which all 3 case reviewers judged the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's manner of determination as not reasonable. Again, good morning to you as well, including 12 with black decedents and 2 decedents. So this audit has covered racial bias as well. Go down a little further. Oh, love you too, and thank you, Ideal. Appreciate you. So here are some of the bullet lists on 38. Let me go up a little bit. Adequacy of case information. Echoing the data in Table 17 above, again, you can read this at your leisure for those who are interested. Case reviewers often noted that case files were lacking in detail about the restraint. Again, this is in reference to people who, after being in police custody or restraint, subsequently lost their lives. Case files were lacking in detail about the restraint, especially, and this is so very important, its duration and the nature, the decedent's body position and behavior, the number, behavior, and positions of the individuals who applied restraint. For some cases, case reviews also noted that the case file provided conflicting. Earmark that, because again, this is just part one. Case reviewers also noted that the case file providing conflicting information about the restraint, again, causing this audit to take place. First bullet is the description of the restraint by police was lacking in details. Pay attention to that. Only one can guess at many times, including the position of the body, the type of restraint applied, and the length of time the decedent was held down. This is referring to a 2006 case. Next, there is no clear description of the decedent's body position during the restraint, the timing, duration of the restraint, and when exactly he went unresponsive. This is in relation to a 2014 case. Next, no description as to whether the decedent was ever in prone restraint. If yes, for how long? And how many officers, pinning him down, and where are they pinning him? That was in reference to a 2007 case. Next, insufficient information on how he was subdued. He has facial injuries without any information on those occurred. Again, I'll read that. Insufficient information on how he was subdued. He has facial injuries without any information on those occurred. This was in relation to a 2011 case. How was the decedent restrained while the other officers assisted? What position was the decedent initially handcuffed in? Was there any use of force applied? Any other use of force applied? Example, blows with the hands or knees or other objects. This is in relation to a 2012 case. Exactly How was the decedent positioned, handcuffed in the transport vehicle? For those of you in the Maryland area, you might remember the tragic case of Freddie Gray, who was transported into a police van, and upon his destination, he lost his life, and according to reports, there were significant injuries to his spine. My impression is that the decedent was restrained by the limbs and lying on his bed, but this needs to be clarified too. In case that is my assumption, that is in relation to a 2011 case. The restraint was described as prone with one officer on each leg. Was he handcuffed in front or behind his back? How long did this take? 2003 case. Next, there is little information as to the subject's behavior other than he would not obey commands or he was threatening law enforcement in any way. Reviewer 1 in a 2007 case. Next, did the patient converse, moan, or groan during restraint? Did he attempt to fight off the restrainers? Reviewer 12 in a 2011 case. Was he able to talk during the restraint? What happened when he was on the ground? Did the struggle continue? What position was he in when he was taken to the ground? Did he remain in this position? I'm not sure what torso on torso means. Reviewer 9 in a 2006 case. So we're going to stop at page 38 again. This audit is 70 pages long. Get back to StreamYard. And I'm going to I was going to hold on for a second. Here we go. Drop the link if anyone has any. And if not, I will close this out. But this is a very, very, very important topic. And again, this audit was done as it relates to cases found in Maryland. Situation. I Eileen, and thank you. There we go. Again, this an audit. Okay. Close this down, but this was just part one that may affect others. Forensic failures. $36 police custody unalivings should have been ruled. According to an audit, it's a 70-page audit, and we showed how, again, this the George Floyd case and the testimony of Fowler. Governor Attorney General Anthony Brown has ordered a deeper look into, and again, that this may give, again, the operative word here is may, give some families who've lost loved ones where they were told the cause of the loss of life were accident should have been ruled as an and so with that, we are about at the hour mark. I want to thank those again and it'll pop up. But this is just part one. I plan to go over the remaining play. Any thoughts or feelings that you may have about how many in police custody that may not be in Maryland, that might be